We don't stop talking about Epstein, guys. You hear me? I'll say it again. We don't stop talking about Epstein. And there's a reason, because this thing ain't going away. Here's what happened the other day. We had the Epstein survivors gathered together right outside the White House. They got a whole rally together, and what they are announcing to us, and there's a bunch of them, they're saying they're going to be putting together their own client list of the alleged abusers. They're going to be using their own emails, their own flight, everything they have access to, their documentation. And this is right after the DOJ has told us over and over that no such list actually exists. So this initiative, it's been organized by and for the survivors, and it aims to name powerful people and hold them accountable. Here's one of the victims speaking out at this rally. Here we go.
2000, I was taken to Jeffrey Epstein's island while on a photo shoot on a nearby island. Who I saw and what I experienced there was a glimpse into a very dark and disturbing world. For years after, I tried to avoid Jeffrey, but he had introduced me to Katie Ford, the owner of the Ford Modeling Agency. Epstein's reach went to the very top of fashion, arts, and entertainment. This did not just happen to underage girls in Florida. In New York City, hundreds of young, ambitious women were abused by him. Epstein was not just a serial predator, he was an international human trafficker. And many around him knew, many participated, and many profited. And yet, he was protected. So I stand here today for every woman who has been silenced, exploited, and dismissed. We are not asking for pity. We are here demanding accountability, and I'm demanding justice. Congress must choose. Will you continue to protect predators, or will you finally protect survivors? And also, I would like to announce here today, us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list. We know the names. Many of us were abused by them. Now, together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know who were regularly in the Epstein world. And it will be done by survivors and for survivors. No one else is involved. Stay tuned for more details.
Excellent. This is going on out there. Now, look, they were able to get some other people on board with this. This isn't just them gathering together. With their inner circle. They got Thomas Massie out there. Here's Thomas Massie telling us that everything you're hearing from Trump and from the DOJ it's all lies, and he's literally telling us it's not a hoax.
I think it's shameful that this has been called a hoax. Hopefully today we can clear that up. This is not a hoax. This is real. There are real survivors. There are real victims to this criminal enterprise. And the perpetrators are being protected because they're rich and powerful and political donors to the establishment here in Washington, D.C.
Now we see Marjorie Taylor Greene standing behind him, which is awesome. I don't know how many Democrats showed up to this, which is, I guess.
Yeah, Ro Khanna.
Ro Khanna did. Okay, good to know. So one did. That's great. So that's what this needs to be. This needs to be a bipartisan situation, the people versus power. The more we get out, the more from both sides, all sides come out on this, the harder it's going to be for Trump to sell this Democratic hoax thing.
Yeah, and just to jump in, just so everyone knows, Trump is framing it, like Thomas Massie pointed out, as a Democratic hoax. And if you look at Trump's response, I don't know if you have his tweet available, but I want everyone to look at the wording of what he said, because he specifically attacked Republicans in the tweet who were going to side with Democrats. Now, I want you guys to know something. The Democrats were in power for 4 years after Epstein was killed in jail under Trump's watch. They did absolutely nothing. They did not care about it. The only reason why they're pretending, in my opinion, to care about it now is because Trump's in office and they want to try to dump the blame on him. Now, as for Ro Khanna in particular, I'm not familiar with how long he's been discussing it, so it's possible, he might be an exception there, and it's an issue that he does care about. However, overall, the only reason Democratic politicians are talking about this is because Trump's in office, and number two, they know Trump isn't going to do anything because Trump is intricately involved in the files. But by bringing it up and blaming it on him, they can get political points by it. But just remember, they had 4 years to do something. They did nothing. They don't care. So don't think that the Democrats are somehow better than the Republicans.
Oh, no, not at all. Here's was my crazy idea was this, because I agree with you. There's no way that it's going to move the pendulum for Trump just because he sees Ro Khanna out there. It's actually going to help him sell the Democratic hoax if you see any Democrats. But not for his sake, for the sake of the voters, for the sake of the people to understand that when you see Ro Khanna and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie standing together, that says something. That says that you were lied to. So if you're a Democratic voter, if you're a Kamala voter and you see a visual of that, that might inform you of something that you weren't really thinking about. Like, wait a minute.
And by no means am I discouraging people from making their voice heard. And I'm not trying to say we cannot make a difference. What I'm saying is that these politicians don't care and Trump isn't going to do it willingly. So we should apply the pressure. That's all I meant. So I wasn't trying to black pill and be too negative just now. Just wanted to clarify.
No, understand. And I think we're on the same side here, seeing exactly this unfolding. It's very bizarre, Trump doubling down. So I'm going to show what he did, how he's using his presidential power to challenge Massie and to threaten him. But this is him. So I'm going to show that tweet in a second here. But first, this is Trump being asked, not off the cuff, but I don't know if he's prepared for this answer, but yes, he doubles down, triples down, quadruples down on this Democratic hoax. It makes no effing sense when you see Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie out there. This is a people versus power movement. And here he goes, yet again, doubling down on this garbage.
Mr. President, right now there have been survivors of Jeffrey Epstein speaking at a press conference on Capitol Hill. They're calling for these case files, these documents to be released. And Thomas Massie, who was sponsoring a discharge position to get the House to vote on releasing those documents, says he doesn't believe you're implicated in these files, but many of your friends and donors may be, and he says that's why the Justice Department is redacting them and slow-walking the release. Is the Justice Department protecting any friends or donors, sir?
So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. You know, it reminds me a little of the Kennedy situation. We gave him everything over and over again, more and more and more, and nobody's ever satisfied.
It's so funny. He's so off the cuff. He doesn't even realize that he says Kennedy and people are, what are you talking about? Well, you're talking about JFK, but it's really funny that you're saying Kennedy at the same time trying to be, and that's a whole nother, we'll get to the discussion of the CDC stuff later, but it's just funny. He just rambles, but he's sticking to these very bland one-liners, Democratic hosts, after he's being asked about Thomas Massie. How are you able to maneuver that BS and say it's a Democratic hoax when Thomas Massie's the one calling you out?
Because the Democrats don't have a critical mass to do anything. And that's why, for the most part, he focuses on the Democrats. But when he talks to politicians, he'll say that, Republicans siding with Democrats will be seen as hostile. And he has tremendous influence in the Republican Party, which tells me Republicans who side with Massie are going to get challenged and going to get the machine turned against them because our centralized parties use their power to literally protect pedophiles right now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's hear the rest of this one.
From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given. But it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president. Even if you look at D.C. right now, D.C., it's a totally safe zone. It's called a safe zone. That's a term. It's a term of art. It's a safe zone because it's very safe. You can walk down the street now and nothing's going to happen. no crime, no murders, no nothing, because we had a lot of problems with certain places, and we still do, all run by Democrats, or for the most part run by Democrats. So what they're trying to do with the Epstein hoax is get people to talk about that instead of speaking about the tremendous success like ending 7 wars. I ended 7 wars. Nobody's going to talk about it because they're going to talk about the Epstein whatever. I understand that we were subpoenaed to give files, and I understand we've given thousands of pages of files. And I know that no matter what you do, it's going to keep going. And I think it's enough, because I think we should talk about the greatness of our country and the success that we're having. I think we're probably having, according to what I read, even from 2 people in this room, we're having the most successful 8 months of any president ever. And that's what I want to talk about. That's what we should be talking about, not the Epstein hoax.
You know, don't you remember campaign Trump, Matt, when he said both sides are crappy, it's not just the Democrats, and then all of a sudden he got into office and the only bad Republicans are Republicans that disagree with him, and they're only bad when they disagree with him, because he doesn't talk about Republicans when they don't disagree with him. So I mean,
let's be clear. These are Republicans that are doing what he used to run on. Like you said, I always go back to the 2015 the incredible definitive moment where he stood on that Republican stage and called out the war machine, right, to Jeb Bush's face, and to the those
like Obama said all the right things, just like Obama.
Yeah, but this is like he's doubling down on this partisan politics and going after people like Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene, who are people who are they're not representing the Democrats. They're representing that the entire system's rigged and Israel is running everything. That's what they're so he, again, like you're 100% right about him wanting to play this Republicans can do no wrong, Democrats are responsible for any of your problems, Democrats are responsible for it, and that's just not true. And then he can say whatever he wants about I ended 7 wars. What? And this is the greatest 8 months ever. I mean, I guess if you say it, it's true. But he did mention this. I'm just going to throw this because you sent me this one, Jay. This is hilarious. He mentioned the thousands of pages. What, guys? Isn't that enough? We gave you 1,000 pages, thousands of pages. Really? Did they look like they look like this? I think. Yeah. This is not to be that guy, but it looks like they accidentally used black highlighter on the important parts. There it is. That's not a joke, guys. That's what Trump is referring to as far as the thousands of pages. So
here's the thing, Matt. They got to protect the Democrats who were perpetrating the hoax. So they're censoring, I guess, the information. I mean, I don't know. If it was me, I would personally want to expose how the Democrats are creating this hoax. So I would be as open as possible. And then I would point to specifically how the Democrats have done it. But, it's just so weird because Trump appointed in his last administration at least 2 people who were directly involved in getting Jeffrey Epstein off, and had a long relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, William Barr and Alexander Acosta. He put William Barr, whose father gave Epstein his first job, as the attorney general, and the department that's in charge of fighting sex trafficking is the Department of Labor. And he put Alex Acosta, who let Epstein off with a slap on the wrist after he got caught the first time, as Secretary of Labor. So I don't know, man. Like, you say it's a Democratic hoax, but I see a bunch of connections between you, and Epstein, and you claim to be a Republican now. And it's like, for them to say, the Democrats to pretend that, it's just Trump's donors that's on that list. Because look at their language. They say, it's Trump's donors. They don't even say Republican donors, They say it's Trump's donors because Trump's the unique problem. Yeah, if we could just get back good Republicans like Lindsey Graham, everything would be fine, man. We just need more Lindsey Graham and less Trump. That's what the Democrats want to tell us.
And we miss the days of the Dick Cheney, George W. Bush, the kind-hearted Republicans when they did illegal torture programs.
It was respectable wars. Yeah. Like we said it nicely. It wasn't as abrasive as it is with Trump, and they were polite, a little more polite as we.
It was a polite Patriot Act and Homeland Security surveillance state. It was a polite lie about weapons of mass destruction. They didn't go around tweeting all this garbage on Twitter. Oh, wait a minute. There was no Twitter back then. But they didn't. If there was a Twitter, they wouldn't have done that.
Listen,
So,
Matt, all we have to do first, we have to get rid of Trump and then Trumpism, and then all the problems are solved. Because that's what they're going to be talking about after Trump isn't around anymore. Oh, the Republicans are all running on Trumpism and MAGA. That's the problem. In the country.
You know, I have a theory. I haven't heard anyone say this. So clip this, guys, and hold it for 20 years from now. Clip this right now. 20 years from now, the new Republicans are going, and the Democrats 20 years from now, they're going to say, they're going to get sentimental and nostalgic and say, we miss the days of that kind of fun guy that ran the Republican Party that you just kind of wanted to see on that Saturday Night Live stage. He was a guy that Snoop Dogg roasted back in the day. He was good. He had those little fun jokes. It was fun. We had a good time with him. Yeah, we didn't agree with things, but we missed that. Why can't we get back to the Trump days? Because that's what they're doing about Dick Cheney and George Bush now. And I think it's funny because if you were to predict that back in 2004, no, people would say you're insane. We'll never say that about these two war criminals. We'll never say that.
And that's because it's a race to the bottom, Matt.
Race to the bottom.
It's always the lesser of two evils. So, it always has to be the most important election of our lifetimes. The stakes are higher than ever. And, they just keep getting worse and worse because the exact same language, maybe they've stepped up the language a little bit more with Trump, but they're not going to propose any, the truth is Trump is keeping the same track on the issues that matter most to them. So it's all a show. Yeah,
exactly. Well, let's get to the part you mentioned earlier, Jay, the threat that went directly on the page. I mean, this is not a joke, guys. This is, so let's look at the bot. So this actually went out. It says, in response to Massey's comment, a White House official told NBC News in an email helping Thomas Massie and liberal Democrats with their attention seeking, while the DOJ is fully supporting a more comprehensive file release effort from the Oversight Committee, would be viewed as a very hostile act to the administration. So Thomas Massie says, a White House says helping me secure a vote to release all the Epstein files is a hostile act. They're threatening anyone who helps bring true transparency and justice for the survivors. This is a tactic administration. The Oversight Committee data release is woefully incompetent.
That's a great quote, and I'm glad that Thomas Massie called it out. However, if you go to Trump's actual original tweet, you'll see that he specifically, you don't have to pull it up. I'm just saying anyone can go find it, but he specifically mentioned Republicans who side with Democrats and Massie against Trump will be seen as hostile. So by calling out Republicans in particular, he's signaling that if you're in the Republican Party, the machine is going to go against you for pushing this narrative. And guess what? I guess it's okay for the Democrats to push the narrative right now because they don't have the majority in any House or any Senate. So there's no teeth behind any of their threats, which is why they talk about Medicare for all when they're not in power. And then when they're in power, they don't talk about Medicare for all. So they know if too many Republicans join with Massie and MTG, then they can actually force some action. So they're threatening everyone and letting you guys know, listen, you guys don't have the following that Thomas Massie has or even MTG. So if you go against us, we're putting a machine against you, and you're not going to be able to defend yourself the way Thomas Massie is, because centralized parties have the ability to do that. Like, it's a few people who are making the decision who were bought off by the same people who control Trump. And so they make sure that nobody in the Republican Party gets too out of line. They just have to let, I don't know how, they let Massie exist because I don't know how they're letting, you could argue that he's been threatened before. His wife did die under suspicious circumstances. So
they didn't let his wife live.
Yeah. But I'm not saying I know there's a conspiracy there, but it was suspicious circumstances. So all I can say is that I hope people recognize that we don't have to have parties with power centralized like this. There are other options.
Yeah. So luckily he did have backup from Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's going on this, I guess, I don't know, this news show that's populist right wing. And she's setting the record straight here. They're still trying to play party politics on the right way. We know this, the indie media right wing channels, a lot of them on Rumble, are still trying to play this party politics stuff. And she's here to set the record straight. And she's pissed. Listen to this.
A hoax while these women were speaking out, and they were saying, we're not a hoax, we're human beings. And I think we need to see something turn around there.
You know,
and I'll say this, Eric.
He can prove it's a hoax by releasing it. Let us decide if it's a hoax or not. I mean, I love everything they're doing. I'm MAGA through and through.
Well, I just want to finish up on one thing. It's not a hoax because Jeffrey Epstein is a convicted pedophile. That takes away the whole hoax things. It's not a hoax. It's not a lie. And on that note, Eric, every Republican should be able to sign on to this. And that's the real hoax, that they're afraid to sign on to it because somebody who is a real coward from one of the Trump admin officials came out and called this a hostile act against the Trump administration. And I take very big offense to that because I put my life and my fortune on the line fighting to get that man elected. And whoever said that has their job because of people like me that fought all the horrible Republicans that stabbed him in the back after January 6th. And I was one of those that fought on the front lines and said, no, he is the leader of our party. He is the president, and we're going to make him president again. Well, that coward attacked me and attacked anybody else and called it a hostile act. The hostile act was Jeffrey Epstein raping 14-year-old girls. That was the hostile act, and it's not a hoax.
And, really quick, sorry, I just want people to remember, right? If you frame it as a hostile act, what you're doing is you're giving an excuse to the Republican Party for what they're about to do to you. Because when they deny you access to the donor list, when they deny you access to all the party resources in your reelection, because you supported holding pedophiles accountable and because you supported transparency, like they're letting you know ahead of time, this is going to be a hostile act if you do this. So the Republican Party can't really do much to the Democrats, but they can definitely go after Republicans, and Democrats can't do anything by themselves without more Republican support. So that's what's going on here. It's all a show, in my opinion.
Yeah. Before we move on, there's one more. I want to show this because you sent this to me last week, Jay. We weren't able to cover them, but it's all connected. This might have been, who knows, what played a role in them organizing this event yesterday. But this was a breaking last week when a leak of 100,000 emails from a former Israeli prime minister. It shows that he and Epstein discussed meeting with Palantir founder Peter Thiel, trying to arrange it so the security guys will not come with us to the island. Wow.
What a big three: Netanyahu, Peter Thiel, and the old prime minister Epstein, and the old Israeli prime minister Epstein and Peter Thiel. What a combination right there, huh?
Yeah, you got Israel, Mossad, you got Epstein, and you got the technocratic leader of Palantir, which all those pieces being put into place. The fact that like anybody that doesn't see this paper, it's right in front of us. We can see this. And this is just one email, but or hundreds of email, but they're just, this idea that there's not more of this out there. Like we know that we already have the evidence that Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent, period. And if you don't connect the dots on that and understand that the people need answers on this, the Trump and the administration what they're doing is hugely underestimating at least half their base. Half their base is okay with this, but the other half is not. And we're seeing that more and more, and people being louder and louder about this. So again, this came out a week ago. I just wanted to throw this one up. You guys can go look closer at this if you feel like it. There's a lot of them, but for now, that might have to do with the timing of this. And then one last point. This is also interesting. Calling it a Democratic hoax might actually help a little bit. I guess you would call it a silver lining of this lie, is that a network like an NBC network might now be willing to have the victims come on and talk. I was really shocked when I saw this one. This is interesting because now you can say we're fighting Trump on this because Trump is uniquely, right? This is the narrative, the mainstream establishment narrative is that Trump is uniquely bad and he's the reason why. No mention of Mossad, no mention of all that. Just we need to figure out why he's ignoring these victims and calling this a Democratic hoax. Well, here's a clip of the victims gathering together. There's about 10 of them, 8 to 10 of them on a stage here talking on.
Show of hands, who here is satisfied with the level of contact they've had from Congress? Nobody. Let me ask this. How about the Justice Department? I want to ask a couple of things about what you knew about.
Before she asks, I'm just noticing, this is the NBC, the new MS Now. Just to be clear, that's what they're going with. But shockingly, they had, I guess there's 9 of them sitting here being asked about, is anyone communicating with you? And so this might be a silver lining. Let's hear their answer, because this is NBC's attempt at keeping this as a partisan issue. But in their attempt to do that, they're getting the message out to the people that watch this and go, holy crap, these people actually exist. And guess what? The answer is, spoiler alert, none of them have heard from the DOJ at all.
Things that were happening with this case that you're obviously involved with. Show of hands, did any of you hear from the Justice Department before they released that memo, that 2-page memo earlier this summer? No hands. Were any of you told that Todd Blanche would be speaking with Ghislaine Maxwell prior to that interview over the course of 2 days?
No.
No. Were any of you told about the prison transfer that Ghislaine Maxwell?
No.
Do any of you feel that the DOJ has communicated with you enough this year?
No.
Have any of you had any communication with the DOJ?
No.
Nobody in this room has heard at all from the Department of Justice?
No.
Is that surprising to you?
No.
No.
And to remind our viewers, the reason they haven't heard from anyone at the DOJ is because nobody sitting in those chairs right now actually exists, because they're a hoax and we're watching a room with empty chairs. Our eyes are deceiving us, Jay. That's what Trump wants us to think. But here they are on NBC, MS, MB, Now, MS, whatever the hell it is. They're showing that these people do exist. So even though it's not a partisan issue, this is what they're making it on NBC, and at least it's getting the message out that this is insane, that Trump is doubling down on this.
Yeah, I agree. It's good that, they're keeping the conversation going. But to be honest with you, I kind of feel like the only reason that's happening is because the public, isn't forgetting about it. And they know if they want to have any legitimacy whatsoever, they have to at least try to talk about it. So, my guess is all the questions will be framed in a way to try to make Trump seem like, the lone wolf, in this situation. Him and Epstein were just buddies, and, it's all Trump's fault. So that's how the media will spin it. Obviously, other Republicans will say the opposite. It's just the Democratic donors that are involved in it, and they're all really going to cover for each other. So that's why, we won't see progress unless we get enough public pressure. And, who knows, maybe at the local level in some of these places where Epstein has committed some crimes, we can get some breakthroughs that kind of force the hands of the feds. But if the feds are involved, if they have their way, no way we get to the truth here. Because don't forget, last thing, then we can move on. Epstein died under Trump's watch. If there was a cover-up, that means people directly connected to Trump who he appointed were involved in it. And now we're asking that same guy to get us justice in this case. So go figure.
Okay, let me take a moment to introduce you to our good friends over at World Harvest Food Bank right here in LA. World Harvest has been serving families across Los Angeles for 18 years now, and they started with this simple idea. Everyone deserves access to healthy, affordable food no matter what they're going through. With their Cart with a Heart program, families can walk away with a full cart of groceries, fresh produce, dairy, meat, and pantry supplies for just a $50 contribution. That's for the entire cart. That same cart will cost over $300 at a typical grocery store. At World Harvest, everyone is welcome. They don't ask for income verification, ID, or any paperwork. No. Basically, their doors are open to anyone who's doing their best, but just needs a little extra push to get by. If you're an Angelino like me, you know the times have been tough here. First with all the union strikes, the LA fires, and now the ICE raids going on. It seems like we're living in a constant state of uncertainty. And that's why it's so important to support local charities like World Harvest, because they aren't just helping the community. They're an essential function in its very survival. World Harvest is located at Venice and Arlington. And right now, you can use our special discount code THL20 for 20% off your contribution amount at checkout. And if you're not in the LA area, you can still help out with a $50 donation, which will provide a full cart of food for a family by going to worldharvestfoodbank.org or scan the QR code for more info. Or you can just spread the word. Follow them online. Let people know they're here for them, because at the end of the day, it's about providing choice, access, and relief without barriers. World Harvest Food Bank. End hunger now.